You open an expensive bottle of wine or champagne, turn it over, and there it is. That strange, deep dent at the bottom. Why is it there? Does it help the wine breathe? Does it make the bottle feel heavier and more premium? Or is it just some ancient tradition? Today you're going to learn the full story. Why this dent appeared hundreds of years ago, why it's still used today, how it helps prevent bottles from exploding, why it's especially deep on champagne bottles, and where real function ends and pure marketing begins. Ready? Let's dive into the history of this glass mystery. This dent is called a punt. Its story starts back in the 18th and 19th centuries when every bottle was made by hand. A glass blower would take a molten tube of glass, blow into it, while his assistant spun the bottle on a long rod. As the bottom took shape, it often left an uneven bump or a sharp bulge. A bottle with that kind of bottom wouldn't stand straight. It could scratch tables or even break. So while the glass was still soft, the craftsman would simply push the bottom inward. That's how the neat little dent was born. At first, the punt was purely a practical solution. It made the bottle stable and allowed them to stack neatly in cellars and on ships. But here's what's interesting. When machines started making bottles automatically in the 19th century, the punt didn't disappear. Why? Because it turned out to have several real, useful functions. Let's start with sparkling wines: champagne, prosecco, cava. Inside these bottles, there's serious pressure, up to 6 atmospheres, like the tire of a big truck. The punt acts like structural reinforcement. It strengthens the base and helps distribute the pressure across the walls. The more gas and the longer the aging, the deeper the punt is usually made. Without it, the risk of a bottle exploding would be much higher. Then we have aged red wines. Over time, they develop natural sediment, tartrates, tannins, tiny yeast particles. The punt collects this sediment in the center or around the edges of the dent. So when you carefully tilt the bottle, the sediment stays at the bottom while clean, clear wine flows into the glass. Very convenient. Another important detail is how sommeliers hold the bottle. The classic technique, the thumb goes right into the punt, with the other fingers supporting the base. This gives excellent control and lets them pour beautifully and precisely, even with one hand at height. It looks very professional. There are also smaller bonuses. In an ice bucket, a bottle with a punt cools a little faster, it doesn't slide as easily on a wet table, and it stores better horizontally. But here's where it gets really interesting. A lot of people still believe that the deeper the punt, the better and more expensive the wine. That's almost always a myth. In reality, the depth of the punt has almost nothing to do with the quality of the wine. Producers sometimes make it extra deep just to make the bottle feel bigger and more impressive in your hand, even though the actual volume of wine inside is standard. It's basically an old marketing trick. On cheap wines and regular water bottles, the punt is often shallow or almost completely flat. Meanwhile, some super premium bottles have surprisingly modest punts. So if someone tells you, "Look at that deep punt, it must be top quality," they're usually just repeating a nice story. So in the end, the punt was born out of the necessities of hand-blown glassmaking, and it survived because of its real benefits and beautiful tradition. For sparkling wines, it's about safety. For aged reds, it's about convenience. For sommeliers, it's signature style. And for us, it's a nice little detail that makes opening a bottle just a bit more special. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and write in the comments. Did you know about the punt before? And what everyday object secret would you like to see in the next video? Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.